Hey guys, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name is Tanya, and we're going to have burgers for dinner tonight. I cooked them on the grill yesterday along with my mass meat grilling. My family always makes fun of me for doing. I have to have at least 3 different things I'm grilling to even mess with starting up the grill. So one of the things we made was grilled hamburger patties, just beef, organic, grass-fed hamburger patties. So I've taken those, let them cool off. They've been in the refrigerator overnight. I'll just reheat them before we eat tonight. But I'm going to make some hamburger buns, and these are a little bit different than the ones I normally make. I'm going to make honey oat hamburger buns. So I want to take you along and show you that recipe, and let's get started. All right, the first thing we want to do is I have put 1/4 cup of white grape juice in here. I just had some organic white grape juice in the fridge left over from something else, and it'll add a little more sweetness to this. I'll reduce the honey to compensate for that, but I've got 1/4 cup of white grape juice, and we're going to add enough warm water to where it comes to just a little over a cup. So I heated my water up. I need to check the temperature. We don't want it to be above 120 degrees because at that point it starts doing more harm to the yeast than good. It doesn't just help it rise, it actually kills it. So, all right, so we're at about 110. You can see that. Well, it went down just a bit. So we're at about 110 degrees, so we're good. Okay, we're gonna add this to our mixer. All right, I've got my mixer turned at an angle there so you can see it better. All right, we'll put that white grape juice and water, warm water mixture in there. I'll put my dough hook on here. And we're gonna add about 2 teaspoons of yeast. I tell you what, I'm gonna be letting this rise. Once I shake the rolls, I'm gonna let them rise in the refrigerator for most of the day so I can just bake them before we have dinner tonight. So it's gonna go like a long, slow rise. So I'm not going to put quite as much yeast in there. I'm probably going to go with maybe 1.5 teaspoons. If you're just going to continue on with the process and bake them right after you make them without any long rest period, you can go ahead and use about 2 teaspoons of that. To that, we're also going to add a couple of tablespoons of honey. This is not my raw honey. Since we're going to be baking this, I won't be getting the full benefits of raw honey anyway, so no use in using the good stuff. Not that this isn't good, it just doesn't have the benefits that raw honey has. It still has the minerals and stuff that honey fortunately has. All right, I can see that my yeast is foaming up a bit, so I know it's active. All right, I'm gonna go with about 1 tablespoon of oil. I'm just using extra virgin olive oil. Since these are hamburger buns, it doesn't, necessarily make or break the flavor of it, but generally speaking, I would add butter instead of oil, but this time I'm just going to use oil. It might make them just a tad softer. So just eyeballing the amount there, about 1 tablespoon of oil or butter, whichever one you choose to use. Okay, to that we're going to add 1 cup of oats. Now these are not quick oats. You can use quick oats if you want to. These are just regular old-fashioned oats. They're organic as well. To that we're also going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And you know the drill when you see me reaching back here in this big glass jar. That's what I'm getting out is flour. the last time I made a loaf of bread with this, it seems like I had to add about a tablespoon more of flour. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. You can always add more, but you can't add less. So that's called taking it out, and you can't take flour out of dough that you've already mixed up. So we're going to plug our mixer in. We'll start stirring this up. We're just going to stir it kind of low at first just to get the dough going so I can see what the moisture level looks like in there. And like I always say with dough, it should feel like really soft baby skin. Now this actually is going to be a little bit wetter dough because you're using oats instead of all flour. It's not going to absorb that moisture as quickly. It's going to take it quite a while to absorb it since they're whole grains. So just kind of give it a little grace as far as being a little more wet than what your normal dough would have in it, because it'll make up for it in the rising part of it and the resting part. So let's turn this mixer on for just a few minutes. All right, that's looking pretty good. We're going to go ahead and add our teaspoon of salt to it as well. I left my spoon out to remind me, and it's a good thing because I'd have probably walked off and forgotten it. You don't ever, ever, ever want to miss putting your salt in yeast bread, because number one, it'll just taste funky. It just won't have that right flavor to it. And sometimes people can peg it and go, yeah, I know exactly what it's missing. Other times you're like, this just tastes bad and I don't know why. But salt is also going to prevent that yeast from just going nuts. I mean, it has food in there, it has moisture, it has warmth, and it's just going to go nuts. This is your tempering agent, so salt is going to temper that. So I'll put this along the edge of it, and let's continue stirring. Okay, I want you to notice this part right here. Even though it just looks like I'm just standing here gazing into the bowl, what I'm doing is listening for that sound of that tut-tut-tut-tut-tut of the bread hitting up against the bowl. What that means is that the moisture is just almost perfect. You couldn't get it a whole lot more perfect than that, because what it's doing is allowing it to release from the edge of the bowl, and it's coming together, and the gluten is making it all stick together, which is ideal for bread. So we have a little bit left on the edge. It's probably going to pick that up when we continue stirring it. So what I'm going to do right now is just give this a rest, like I always do with every yeast bread that I make. You never just keep mixing it, keep mixing it, keep mixing it. You mix it up until everything is nicely incorporated, and then you give it a little bit of a rest. And it's also going to help those oats absorb some of that liquid in there. So we're going to give this about a 5-minute rest. Then we're going to come back and turn the mixer on, and we're going to let it run for about 30 to 40 minutes. So instead of just letting the camera run, I'm telling you what I'm going to do. So we're going to rest this just for, like I said, about 5 minutes. Then I'll turn this back on, and we'll let the mixer go for another 30 to 40 minutes. And then we'll come back at that point, and I'll show you what the next step is. All right, continuing our hamburger buns, which I only made 3 hamburger patties, so, you know, I'm going to have several to use for something else. I'm sure we can find a purpose for them. All right, this is what our dough looks like. Hope you can see that. I'm going to scrape this out and put it directly on the countertop. I'm going to make 8 buns with this. So it's pretty easy to divide out when you have an even number like that. I have one dog over here, I have one dog over there, and they don't take their eyes off me when they know I'm dealing with food. They think everything is theirs. They're going to be so disappointed. Okay, this is my little flexible plastic bench scraper. I think I paid 75 cents for this at our local restaurant supply place in North Little Rock. And I use that thing so much. I think I bought 2 of them. I was a big splurge. I spent $1.50 that day at that store. That guy looked at me like I was a nut when I checked out, but I was excited about them. And I use them a lot. All right, so divide them into 4 and then divide each one of those into 2. So we'll have 8 buns. And I love my shiny, this is a stainless steel pan right here, and it's so good because it has such good reflective qualities and it bakes bread really, really nice. Now these rolls will just fit in this pan and the edges will touch. So as you know, when you let bread, rolls, biscuits, anything like that touch, the soft edges on them are just so good. So we're going to take these, and I'm using the just fold over into itself method. I'm pulling up the edges to a point, pushing it into the rest of it, and the other side of it looks that way. She decided to play with her toy now that I have the camera going. They've been taking naps all morning long, and when I turn the camera on, she wants to play with her toy. Silly dogs. All right, so once we get these shaped, these are really easy to shape. This dough is such a nice texture. It's not hard to shape at all. So once we get these shaped, I will cover them up, and normally, and if you want to proceed with baking them at that point, that's fine. You just let them rest for probably, I would say about a good hour, covered in a warm location without a draft or anything, like in a lower oven or just in a pantry somewhere, even on the countertop. And then you'll bake them in a 350 oven for about 20 minutes. But what I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to do a low and slow, or a slow long rise. So I'm going to put them in the refrigerator, and even though that's not a nice warm place, they will continue to rise, but just do it at a slower rate. Sometimes the benefit to that is it just makes the bread a little softer, and I don't really know how to explain that in better terms. I wish I could, but it just has a little bit of different texture to it when it rises slowly. And if I'm not mistaken, it also makes the bread more digestible or easier to digest when it rises slowly. So we'll take all that we can get on both sides. All right. And you don't have to grease your pan or anything. These are not so much so that they won't come out of the pan, but there's how our rolls look. It's sticky, but not so much that it stuck to my hands, so good texture. All right, we're going to take our cloth, and I'm going to put these in the refrigerator on the lower shelf, and they're just going to sit in there until this afternoon. I'll pick back up on this when I take them out of the refrigerator. Hopefully I'll remember to film when I take them out of the refrigerator, but at least I'll film when I take them out of the oven. So we'll bake these later on tonight to have with our hamburgers. So we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so did I remember to video this before I put them in the oven? No. All right, there's the rolls. And there's a couple of hamburger patties. We're just gonna have a couple of burgers for supper. So I'm heating those up too. I almost forgot to put those in the oven. So maybe I'll, ooh, look how dirty my window of my oven is. Goodness, you'd think I'd cooked or something. I'll try to video these when I take them out so you get a better look at them then. Sorry guys. Okay, quick. Here's the rolls, and my husband's fixing to walk in the door and the dogs are gonna start barking, so that's the end of the video. Let me make sure you're seeing this. Oh, there we go. Okay, pan full of buns. They look kind of like eggs, don't they? That's funny. Okay, thanks for watching guys. Hope you give these a try. See ya.